state that holds the first primary of the 2012 presidential campaign next Tuesday. And that primary looks even more interesting than ever after Mitt Romney and Rick Santorum finished just 8 votes apart in last night's Iowa caucuses, with Ron Paul not far behind. The candidates are going to hit the ground running here in New Hampshire. They face a very different challenge connecting with voters here than they did in Iowa.
And correspondent Karen Brown is here with that part of the story. Good morning, Karen. So what is the big difference between these two states?
Well, you know what, Nancy and Jim, in fact, the caucuses and this primary aren't just apples and oranges. Truly, they're granite cliffs and cornfields. That is how different they are. A key example, about half of the voters last night said they were very conservative. Here in the last election, only 20% described themselves that way. For Republicans in New Hampshire, it's about being a fiscal conservative, with small business owners leading that charge.
Thank you for being with us.
Fritz Koppel isn't running for office.
Yes.
With business down 10% at his historic Wentworth Hotel in Jackson, New Hampshire, he's making sure
The original floor from 1869.
his place doesn't become history.
This is everything I have.
Koppel is a New England moderate Republican and shares one thing with his conservative counterparts in Iowa.
This election is all about the economy.
But don't think the white steepled church outside means they have much more in common. University of New Hampshire pollster Andy Smith.
Iowa Republicans, for example, are dominated by evangelical churches, homeschool organizations. New Hampshire, according to one study by Gallup, is the second least religious state in the country.
The kind of talk that played in Iowa
This is a great country, and I trust in God.
may not play here.
Business is my game, if the economy does well, I do well.
The state's low 5.2 unemployment rate is almost as picturesque as the state. Small businesses are keeping people employed.
As a small business owner, how frustrated are you?
Well, I nearly ripped all my hair off my head.
How important are small business owners in this election?
Well, it's first to say that New Hampshire essentially has no large businesses. Small businesses dominate the New Hampshire economy.
Iowa, in contrast, leans towards agribusiness and big companies, but has a smaller pool of voters.
We had 538 total votes.
The caucuses are Republican only. In New Hampshire, independents like Concord Deli owner Peter Silvestro also participate. He's a swing voter who's seen firsthand consumer confidence drop to its lowest level in 2 years.
Why do you think your business is down 20%?
They're bringing their own lunch. They're cutting back when they do come in. They're getting a half a sandwich instead of a whole sandwich.
And that's because of the uncertainty, you think?
I think it's uncertainty, yeah, sure.
In the last election, he made headlines with President Obama.
So you stood right here, you took a picture with the president, you had it up in your restaurant, you took it down, why?
Hope and change hasn't translated into anything for my business, and I'm sure for a lot of small businesses.
Why is it the government's responsibility to fix it for you?
It's not their responsibility to fix my business, but it's the government's responsibility to set a mood that it's okay to go out and spend money again.
4 out of 10 New Hampshire independents consistently vote Democrat. But like Silvestro, a growing number are switching allegiance.
For the first time in my life, I'm going to vote Republican.
Do you feel a little bit like a turncoat?
Not at all. I feel like a patriot. Maybe it'll wake up some people in Washington.
And unlike in the Iowa caucuses, where 6% of the eligible voters turned out, here the candidates have a lot more voters to convince.
We often have turnout higher than some states have in their general elections for president. We're actually seeing that Republican interest is higher this year than it was in 2008.
I do think Republicans have a good chance to be back in the White House.
And that's also lit a political fire in Koppel.
So your concern for your country as well as your business has you super focused on politics right now?
Exactly. Glued to the TV.
And of course, we'll be glued here in New Hampshire. One thing to keep in mind is this whole idea that 40% of the voters here are independents is a bit of a misnomer. In fact, 30% of them always vote Republican, 40% vote Democrat. And one thing to really keep in mind is the fact that, according to Professor Smith, about 10% of those who usually vote Democrat are now planning on voting Republican. So something to keep an eye on.
Wow, and I think there's no better sign of how different these two states are, Iowa and New Hampshire, than the fact that no non-incumbent Republican has ever won both of them.
It just completely different. I mean, truly, the social issues are the focus in Iowa. I mean, the economy is the #1 issue everywhere, but social issues are key in Iowa. Here, it's the fiscal issues. And you can watch as the candidates will start to really change their message here.
Got it. All right. Fascinating. Well, Karen Brown, thank you so much. Appreciate it.